What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another day in the life video. I'm here with Robert Miller. He's a serial entrepreneur, owns an 8-figure e-commerce agency. He's also an investor. Rob, thanks for having us.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thanks for coming around.
Could you give us a little quick intro about what you're doing and everything you got going on?
Yeah, sure thing. So I have a couple different businesses, a lot in the digital marketing space. First one has actually just been an agency. We actually work with a lot of entrepreneurs, work with a lot of businesses, help them scale up. But the other one that I've kind of been really known for has been our e-commerce investment company, essentially where we've built brands, we've sold brands, and essentially we help people create their own stores and have exposure to e-com.
Let's get to it. Just walking in, I just have to ask, the library looks incredible. Could you just give me a rundown of some of your favorite books, something you recommend, and what are some must reads for people out there?
I've been into books ever since I was like 17, 18 years old, really got into entrepreneurship because of books. So I'm super into them. The first one I actually ever read was The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. I actually ended up working with him for about 7 to 8 months in the digital marketing space. So I always recommend, if people are just starting out, have the right mindset. So 10X Rule is always, a staple. I think that's a really foundational book. And then if you're really just in entrepreneurship and wanting to get into marketing, I think the whole .com series by Russell Brunson is good, as well as Think and Grow Rich. Everyone talks about, Napoleon Hill and the books that he's had. Yeah, they're absolutely classic. That's one of my favorite ones and something I actually revisit on an annual basis. But other than that, man, there's a lot of other businesses. I'm really big into finance. And so the biggest ones that actually started to shape the way that I thought about money was first Unshakable by Tony Robbins, kind of goes over the financial markets, how they work and what fees you want to avoid and things like that. And then I got into another book, The History of Central Banking and the Enslavement of Mankind. That one goes over the debasing of currencies and ultimately how we've gotten inflation and how we've actually seen nations rise and fall. And then that staples into this one here called The Fiat Standard by Saifedean Ammous, who's an economic fiend when it comes to Bitcoin and all that kind of stuff. So I love all of this stuff too.
I have to ask, I saw this award here. You got
a little 2 Comma Club award. Before winning this one, I had won it 6 times for other people.
Wow.
So when I was an advertising agency, and the thing with the agency space is you will have a client churn at some point, depending if it's price, depending if it's what they're going through, if they didn't budget things properly. And that's just part of the game. So I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna go do it and get the award for myself. And that's the end of what happened. We did it in about 6 months. We got the award and we technically got 2, but we only got 1 on the, I only paid for 1.
Just to reiterate, what exactly was the award, just for people out there that don't really understand what that is?
So ClickFunnels is a software, essentially, the books I was talking about, the .com series books and everything by Russell Brunson. He has a software, essentially it's called ClickFunnels. If you do $1 million through just one of their funnels, then you actually can get an award. And so one website or one landing page for us did $1 million.
You're working so hard throughout the day. How do you kind of let off steam? What do you kind of do to relax? And is there anything from a meditation standpoint that you do to kind of clear your head?
First thing, I wake up anywhere between 5 to 6 in the morning, typically every morning. I've been getting into jiu-jitsu and a couple other things recently, so sometimes my body needs a little bit more rest, but typically it's 5 to 6 in the morning, and then I'll come out and I'll typically just grab water, do the whole morning routine of protein shakes, supplements, all that. Once I'm done, I'll come out here, I'll read, I'll meditate. I even have a yoga mat sometimes if I need to stretch out, roll out, and really that's it. Then I'll go down, we'll go on a walk, just kind of get the body moving, and then during that time, usually I'm just either alone in my own thoughts and I'm just thinking through different exercises and stuff like that, or I'll actually put on a podcast and I'll listen to different news about finance or different news about marketing, anything that I want to do. But the view, man, it helps me to come out here, decompress, especially in between meetings. If I need 4 to 5 minutes just to kind of, let a meeting sit, do a little bit of breath work, and then come outside, look at the view, and then I'll go back at it.
If you could spend the day with one influential figure, who would it be and why?
Live, I would say Grant Cardone. He's been a pretty influential person in my life just throughout all of the different books and being able to work for him and all that kind of stuff. It would kind of fulfill a whole prophecy, if you will, in my book, being able to work alongside and collaborate with him. That's a really big one that I would enjoy. Him and Ray Dalio, actually. Ray Dalio is, a billionaire hedge fund guy, and I read all of his books too. So those would be really cool to meet. Dead, I'd probably go back to Earl Shoaff, Jim Rohn's original mentor. Jim Rohn is known as kind of the father of personal development. He really made it mainstream, right? Everyone loves Jim Rohn and stuff, but Earl Shoaff was actually his original mentor. And so if you go back and you listen to some of his tapes, obviously you see what Jim Rohn has done and then what Tony Robbins has done and stuff. But to go back to the origin source that was really close to, before all the media came out and everyone started repeating some of those, core philosophies, but someone that actually embodied it way back in the day, especially seeing how the dynamics are. I would love to just chat with him and see what, life was like back then and how those principles were different for the sector and the era that he was in.
What are we doing now? You kind of basically either start your day or just sometime in the morning kind of go out on this trail?
In the morning. to be around like 6 a.m. once I'm done with kind of the stuff in the morning up at the unit. I'll just come down on the trail. I'm out here either for personal preferences of just not listening to anything and just kind of being in my own headspace, really thinking through ideas of where I want to go in life, or other things with the business going on, different issues. I try and step out to then come back and be able to tackle it. Gives you a different perspective a lot of the times when you're not in the weeds. And it's also like that time for yourself too. Like I am super strict now with my time. I used to always give time to people, give time to people, give time to people. And at some point there's like the diminishing returns where your cup's not being filled and you're not even doing the bare minimum for yourself. With mentors for me, I was always like, hey, if you need anything, let me know. If you need anything, let me know. And I just, provided a lot of value that way. But at some point you stack enough responsibility in your business or in yourself that you need to put that 30 minutes aside for yourself in the morning or whatever that is. For me, it's about 30 to 40 minutes, then I get right to it.
In your Instagram bio, you have God first written. How important has faith been to you throughout your lifetime?
It's been really important, man. Actually, one of my first mentors, very spiritual in regards to faith. Like he was very well connected to that and attribute a lot of his success to it. And I still hop on calls with him today, where in the midst of a big crisis for him financially, he gave a big chunk of money as tithes and offerings because, the money and the resources that he's collected was a pretty good change. He doesn't have to work anything anymore. He's set up for generations, but he still gave up a big chunk because he knows that it's going to be better in God's hands than his. For me, I've had my ups and downs with faith and everything, but I think the biggest thing is instead of just blindly going into a faith or religion, like understanding why and also what that connection means. Because if you have something and it's taken away from you, now you know the value. It's the same thing. If you don't pour into that for yourself spiritually, and if you even don't go through some discovery sometimes and you just kind of blindly accept it, you don't understand the true moral foundation of like the power of simple scripture or simple philosophy.
All right, guys, we just finished up on the trail with Robert. He actually had to step out real quick to take a quick phone call, but when he comes back, we're going to jump into a classic Hard Knock style street interview.
Yeah, we're just going to be asking him a couple questions like we typically do, like the advice he tells younger self and how someone can become financially free and wealthy in today's world. So stay tuned and we're going to get the shot going. Excuse me, sir.
What's up?
Quick question for you. If you were to go back to when you were in either high school or college, what is the best piece of advice you would tell your younger self?
Invest into mentors, get into the room, whatever it is, whether it's you don't really have a lot of money at that time, so give your time to the actual mentor to help them with whatever they're doing. So if they have multiple businesses, if they are making a lot of money, see how you can get in the door.
What is your best piece of advice to someone wanting to start a business in 2022?
I would start out in services, especially right now. Everyone has problems. If you can solve those problems, the digital side and making it super sexy isn't the first place to start. You want to actually solve a problem first, and then once you figure out what that problem that you're solving is, then you can go to scale it. But first, help people, and that's how you can kind of take the service businesses to the next level.
For someone trying to scale from 6 to 7 to potentially 8 or 9 figures, what advice would you give to someone who's trying to scale?
Well, I haven't hit 9 figures yet, so I can't give advice there. But first, 0 to 6 is the skill sets. 6 to 7 is then being able to get predictable new clients from your new service or from your new business. And then 7 to 8 is following the graph, whether that's ads, people, numbers don't lie, people do.
What skill set have you seen that separates people from the rest?
Copywriting, sales, and marketing. If you can learn those 3, copywriting is sales in written form. Sales is doing it over the phone, being able to persuade. And then third is marketing. How do you get more people to hear what you have to offer?
If you were to start from 0 and you had 1 year to make $1 million and your life depended on it, what would you do?
High ticket services and collaboration. I would look for networks to be able to tap into. That way I don't have to spend a lot on marketing and ads, but I would collaborate with people, provide a solution that has multiple services, multiple customers at once, rather than trying to go one at a time, 1, 2, 3, go to a mastermind, go to a network and try and roll something out. That's beneficial to all parties.
I love that. And what is the secret to sales in 2022?
Just being authentic. I think actually solving the problem, number 1, if you're doing that, then that's to solve it. But 2 is how are you actually going to build that relationship over time? I think a lot of people are in it for the transaction, and it can be hard sometimes when you're scaling out an offer to have relationships with every single person. But if you try to at least build community and build trust and really understand that you have their best interest at mind or at heart, that's what really matters, and they'll feel that.
So you just got off a call. What were you guys talking about?
Yeah, man, so just going over with our leadership call. Essentially every single week we hop on and we just make sure that each department's doing the right functions, and got a lot of updates with some of the newer things we're rolling out in our Shopify department, which is recurring subscriptions and billing and things like that. Just leadership calls, man.
What does your typical start of the day, end of the day look like? So people can kind of really capture what it's like to be a serial entrepreneur. What do you have to do on the daily basis to be able to meet your goals and be able to get done what you need to get done?
In the beginning of starting out, I was I was 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. every single day, grinding on every single part of the business. So it's always cool now to be like, yo, this is my meeting schedule here and here. But now I wake up at around like 5 to 6. I'll go out for, a little bit of a morning routine. I'll go out on a walk, listen to a podcast, or just do my own thing. I'll journal, I'll meditate. So typically in the mornings, I'll just have a work block from like 7 a.m. till maybe about 11. And my first call will be at about 11 or 12. And then subsequent calls after that, whether that be sales calls from time to time or partnership and collaboration calls. Then I'll essentially go into another deep work session. Typically that's around 3 to 4. If I have calls that fill up the rest of the day, then I'll stop at around 5. I'll go hit the gym around like 6:30, come back, read, and then go into course material or stuff like that I want to learn, and then go from there.
I know we talked about reading a lot with personal development, but how big has been keeping up with, just joining into new courses and stuff, even at the point of success where you're at now?
Definitely, always in courses. I think if you think that you know it all, you've already lost. At least for me, when I have business problems arise and I don't know the answer to them, I'll tap into my resource network. We always have a library, we have Google, we have the internet, but what's your internal library that you can actually draw from? Those are typically courses and a little bit of a system that you kind of build for yourself. So that's what I've done.
That kind of wraps it up for a day in the life with Robert Miller. Robert, thanks so much for having us, man.
Yeah.
Really appreciate your time, bro. Yeah.
Where can everyone find you?
Yeah, at the Robert J. Miller on Instagram. But guys, I actually got another meeting, so I need you guys to get out of here.
Sounds good, man. Hey,
I'm just playing, guys.
appreciate it.
Good seeing you.